people within the Pentagon actually warned Hegseth that he had to use his government-issued phone, that he couldn't keep doing it on his personal phone with Signal, which is not approved for this type of thing.
Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly put detailed information about strikes in Yemen in a private Signal group that included his wife and his brother. It is, of course, only weeks since a remarkably similar lapse was revealed, but the White House says Donald Trump stands behind his defence secretary. Mr Hegseth arrived at the White House Easter egg hunt in the last hour, saying he'll continue fighting all the way. I don't think he's talking about the Easter egg hunt there. Harriet Alexander, who is a journalist in New York, joins me now. Good afternoon, Harriet.
Hi, Jane.
Harriet, just give us a brief background to all of this.
Right, so Pete Hegseth, obviously a former Fox News host. He is a military veteran, but he certainly raised eyebrows when Donald Trump nominated him to be defense secretary in the first place, because normally these people come with decades and decades of military experience and of running a huge multi-billion-dollar organization like the Pentagon. Hegseth had none of that. And very quickly, he seems to have got himself into an incredible amount of trouble. First, there was the revelations that he was on the Signal group, the chat group that shared war plans in Yemen with a journalist, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And now it turns out that he's actually shared this same information with his wife and with his brother and with his personal lawyer.
Harriet, I know this was a New York Times story that broke this. What's the US reaction been like in the last few hours?
I mean, I suppose a sort of face palm, really. I mean, what more can you do? It's ridiculous. It's incredible that, Hegseth has, I suppose, in some ways, been able to argue in the first instance that he was not the person who formed that initial Signal chat, the one that the Atlantic reporter was added to. So he could have argued that he believed that all of the people who were on there were legitimately on there, on that Houthis Principles Committee group. But this second one, revealed over the weekend by the New York Times, that was something that Hegseth himself created. So it's him who created this chat group and who shared this information with these people who had absolutely no need or no right to know this information.
Chuck Schumer has tweeted already that he thinks that Hegseth should be sacked. Is there anyone else calling for that yet?
There's a really interesting person who's saying this, essentially. That's a guy called John Elliott, and he was the Pentagon spokesman until very recently. He's somebody who was a real fan of Pete Hegseth and a really pro-Trump, pro-MAGA person. When Hegseth was nominated, as I said, there was quite a lot of surprise, to put it mildly. But Elliott said, no, Hegseth is going to be great. He's going to bring in the fresh thinking that we need. But Elliott, on Sunday night, wrote an op-ed in Politico talking about the total disarray at the top of the Pentagon. He talked about how there had been the firing of 3 senior staff members on Friday. Hegseth's chief of staff then was reassigned. So that's the 4th person on Friday to be shuffled around. And Elliott said that Hegseth couldn't continue in this role.
That's really interesting. You talk about 4 people having gone from the Pentagon, because White House spokesman Caroline Leavitt has told Fox News that this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you. Is there something going on at the Pentagon?
Well, the people who were initially fired, the 3 of them, they say that there is a campaign of smearing them as they left. They say that they were being blamed for leaking the details of this initial Signal chat. They say they had nothing to do with it. And one of them actually said that he was about to be exonerated. So they think that they are being undermined by the Pentagon. But for Elliott, somebody who was a real pro-Trump, pro-Hegseth person, to speak out against him, I think that's really telling. But having said that, sure, there probably are plenty of people who are really horrified that someone like Hegseth would take this incredibly important role.
Yeah, I mean, how long can that hold while these sort of mistakes continue? I mean, just smacks of amateurism, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was talking to someone yesterday who was quite senior in the US Army. He's now retired. And he was saying if he had done something like this, he would be immediately dismissed from his job. I mean, it's so basic that you do not share this type of information. and the fact that they are turning a blind eye to him, that Trump for now seems to very much have his back and support him, is quite staggering for those who are within the military and who know how important and how tightly held this kind of information is.
Yeah, I mean, there's the amateurism aspect, but there's also there's a real security risk, isn't there, of this sort of information being leaked? I mean, this was about military flights taking off and when.
Right, absolutely. And that very much puts American service members' lives at risk, because if that is public knowledge of when these planes are going to be flying and where they're going to be flying, of course, that makes them vulnerable to attack. So I think there's a lot of anger among service members as well that there has been this sort of cavalier approach to security. I think other countries will think long and hard about sharing their information with the US if the people at the top of the tree are so reckless with what they're doing. I think also, people within the Pentagon actually warned Hegseth that he had to use his government-issued phone, that he couldn't keep doing it on his personal phone with Signal, which is not approved for this type of thing, and yet he disregarded that and did it anyway.
The Democrats must be feeling very slighted by this, given, Hillary Clinton and all the calls for her, but her emails, over using a private server. And now Pete Hegseth is tweeting or sending military messages on his WhatsApp and Signal. I mean, the Democrats surely must be up in arms.
Right. And Hillary Clinton, when that first Signal story came out, she reacted with the Twitter emoji of, the two eyes looking very, very interested, which sort of, an image speaking 100 words, I think. But yes, I think Democrats are aghast at this. I think a lot of the country is aghast at this. But at the same time, the Democrats themselves are in such disarray. There's no one who's really able to kind of come out as a figurehead. Sure, you have Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who are off doing their sort of fighting the oligarchy kind of tour, which is getting a lot of attention. You have Chuck Schumer talking about it, but none of them really seem to have the clout, seem to have the gravitas to rally the party to say this is not good.
Yeah, great to get your insights this afternoon, Harriet. Thank you so much for your time. That's Harriet Alexander, who is a journalist in New York.
How's the Easter egg roll, sir?
Hey, we're happy to be here at the Easter egg roll, I'll tell you that. To be with the family, beautiful day. And President Trump is changing the country. And he's creating opportunities for families all across America to better their lives. And that's what Make America Great Again is all about.
So. What do you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters.
So
this group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids.
Have you
Thank you very much.
President, sir? Have you spoken with the president?
Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Sir, are you
All right, we're moving, everyone. We're moving. Let's go. Come on. Thank you.